The small town of Maplewood was surrounded by endless fields and dense forests, a quiet place where everyone seemed to have their own lives neatly figured out. But for Jack, life was far from perfect. At 32, he was still trying to make sense of it all. After losing his wife 2 years ago in a car accident, Jack had moved to Maplewood to escape the painful memories. His days were a blur of work as a freelance photographer and long, lonely evenings in a house that felt too big for one person. On most days, Jack took long walks through the wooded trails behind his home. He told himself it was to clear his head, but deep down, he knew he was searching for something. Anything to fill the emptiness in his heart. It was on one of those walks, as the sun dipped below the horizon, that Jack heard a sound that stopped him in his tracks. A faint whimper came from the bushes to his left. Jack's brow furrowed as he turned his flashlight toward the sound. There, curled up under a bush, was a scruffy brown dog. The dog was thin, his ribs visible through his matted fur, and his eyes were tired but wary. Jack knelt down, his voice soft. "Hey buddy, what are you doing out here?" The dog didn't move but watched Jack with cautious eyes. Jack reached into his pocket and pulled out a granola bar, the only thing he had on him. Breaking it into small pieces, he placed them on the ground and stepped back. The dog sniffed the air, hesitated, and then slowly crept forward to eat. Jack stayed still, his heart aching for the poor creature. "Don't worry," Jack murmured. "I'm not going to hurt you." When the dog finished eating, he stood there, as if deciding whether to trust Jack. Then, to Jack's surprise, the dog took a cautious step forward. That was the moment Jack's life began to change. Jack brought the dog home that night. The first challenge was getting him inside the house. The dog, whom Jack decided to call Rusty because of the reddish tinge in his fur, was hesitant to cross the threshold. Jack sat on the porch for nearly an hour, speaking in a calm voice and letting Rusty take his time. Eventually, Rusty stepped inside, his body tense and his tail low. Over the next few days, Jack gave Rusty space to adjust. He left out food and water, making sure to approach slowly and avoid sudden movements. Rusty spent most of his time curled up in a corner, his watchful eyes following Jack everywhere he went. It wasn't easy. Jack had never owned a dog before and wasn't sure he was doing things right. But every small sign of progress filled him with hope. The first time Rusty wagged his tail, the first time he allowed Jack to pat his head, and the first time he fell asleep at Jack's feet. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day. Jack started taking Rusty on walks, and soon, the dog's energy returned. Rusty would chase squirrels, sniff every tree, and run circles around Jack, his tail wagging like a flag in the wind. For the first time in years, Jack found himself laughing, real, heartfelt laughter that felt like sunlight breaking through dark clouds. One cold winter evening, as Jack and Rusty were returning from their walk, they noticed something unusual. A car was parked near the entrance to the trail, its headlights off and engine idling. Jack felt a twinge of unease, but tried to shake it off. As they walked past the car, a man stepped out. He was tall, wearing a dark hoodie, and his face was partially obscured. "Excuse me," the man called, his voice calm but with an edge that made Jack's skin crawl. "Do you have the time?" Jack hesitated, instinctively tightening his grip on Rusty's leash. "It's about 6, he said cautiously. Before Jack could react, the man took a step closer, and Rusty immediately positioned himself in front of Jack, growling low in his throat. The man froze, eyeing the dog warily. "Nice dog," the man muttered, before retreating to the car. Jack didn't wait to see what would happen next. He turned and hurried home, his heart pounding. Rusty stayed alert, glancing back over his shoulder, as if to ensure the man wasn't following. That night, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Rusty lay by the door, his ears perked and his eyes fixed on the window. Jack double-checked the locks, grateful for Rusty's protective instincts. The incident left Jack shaken but also more grateful for Rusty than ever. He realized how much the dog had become a part of his life. Rusty wasn't just a stray he had taken in, he was a protector, a friend, and a source of comfort. Jack took Rusty to the vet for a full checkup and learned that, despite his rough start, Rusty was in good health. The vet estimated him to be about 3 years old. A microchip scan revealed no information, confirming that Rusty had no known home or history. Jack also started to notice how Rusty's presence was changing him. He began exploring new trails, meeting other dog owners, and even attending local events. His once isolated world expanded, and for the first time in years, Jack felt truly alive. Rusty's playful antics brought laughter back into his home, and his unwavering loyalty gave Jack a sense of security he hadn't felt in a long time. Rusty, too, transformed. His fur grew shiny, his eyes sparkled, and his skittishness faded. He learned new tricks and seemed to understand Jack's moods, always offering comfort when Jack felt down. Their bond was unbreakable. It was one of those nights where the rain felt endless, pouring down in sheets and rattling against the windows like an unwelcome visitor. Jack sat in his living room, the glow of his laptop casting soft shadows on the walls. The rhythmic tapping of rain on the roof was oddly comforting, lulling him into focus as he edited photos from a recent project. Rusty lay stretched out by the door, his head resting on his paws, half asleep, but always alert. The peace of the evening shattered suddenly. Rusty sprang to his feet, ears perked, and began barking loudly. His bark wasn't the playful kind Jack had grown used to. It was urgent, filled with warning. Jack's heart skipped a beat as he looked up, startled. "What is it, boy?" he asked, pushing his chair back and walking toward the window. Rusty was already there, pawing at the glass and barking frantically. Jack's eyes followed Rusty's gaze, and what he saw sent a chill through him. Across the street, flames flickered through the curtains of his elderly neighbor's house. At first, it was just a faint glow, but within seconds, the fire grew brighter, and thick smoke began billowing out of the windows. "Oh no," Jack muttered, grabbing his phone and dialing 911. His voice trembled as he spoke to the dispatcher, explaining the situation and giving the address. As soon as he hung up, he threw on his raincoat and grabbed a flashlight. Rusty barked again, as if to say, "Let's go." "All right, buddy, let's check it out," Jack said, his heart pounding. He opened the front door, and Rusty darted out into the storm without hesitation. The rain was relentless, soaking Jack within moments. The wind howled, making it difficult to see or hear anything clearly, but the glow of the fire was unmistakable. Jack's feet splashed through puddles as he ran toward Mr. Cartwright's house. Rusty stayed close, his fur slick with rain but his focus unwavering. When they reached the house, Jack saw Mr. Cartwright standing on the porch, coughing and struggling to open the front door. The elderly man looked frail and panicked, his hands trembling as he fumbled with the handle. Jack rushed to his side, placing a steadying hand on his shoulder. "Mr. Cartwright, are you okay? We need to get you out of here. The fire. It spread so fast." Mr. Cartwright gasped, his voice hoarse. "Daisy's still inside." Jack froze for a moment, his mind racing. Daisy was Mr. Cartwright's small white terrier, a sweet dog who often barked happily at Rusty whenever they passed by the house. "Stay here," Jack told Mr. Cartwright. "I'll find her." But before Jack could even take a step toward the open door, Rusty bolted past him and disappeared into the smoke-filled house. "Rusty, no!" Jack shouted, panic surging through him. He wanted to chase after Rusty, but Mr. Cartwright was unsteady on his feet, and Jack couldn't leave him alone in the rain. "Come on, we need to move," Jack urged, guiding Mr. Cartwright away from the house and toward the safety of the sidewalk. Every second felt like an eternity. Jack's eyes stayed fixed on the doorway, his chest tight with fear. The flames were growing, casting an orange glow that flickered wildly in the rain. "Please," Mr. Cartwright murmured, tears streaming down his weathered face. "Please, save Daisy." Jack clenched his fists, his heart pounding like a drum. Just when he thought he couldn't bear the weight any longer, a shadow emerged through the smoke. It was Rusty. His fur was blackened with soot, and his eyes were wide, but he moved with determination. Clamped gently in his jaws was Daisy, her small body limp and drenched, but unmistakably alive. Jack felt a wave of relief so intense it brought tears to his eyes. He ran toward Rusty, his hands trembling as he took Daisy from him. The little dog coughed weakly but wagged her tail, and Jack could barely choke out the words, "You did it, boy." The stray who had once been lost had found his home, and in doing so, he had given Jack a reason to smile again. Together, they proved that sometimes the greatest saviors come with 4 paws and a wagging tail.